Hello everyone, my name is Satyam Raha, and in this video I'll be talking about another pattern. So the pattern is like this: one, one, two. Okay, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. It's let's not do it. Let's say one, 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 one. Likewise. Okay. So this is line number one. This is line number two. This is line number three. This is line number four. Okay. So how do you solve this? So you see, now the number of spaces are relevant, isn't it? Because the number of spaces are on the left side. So there is how many spaces? One, two, three. Here we have line number two, spaces two. Line number three, spaces one. Line number four, spaces zero. Isn't it? So how can you think of this? What do you think? How can you solve it? So you see, you have to, when you have spaces on the left side, so you have to do two things. You have to take care of two things, that is the elements and the spaces. You have to take care of both the things, and obviously the best way to do is, or the easiest way, let's not say the best way, the easiest way to do this is, let's say, to use a for loop for printing the spaces and another for loop for printing the elements means one, this one, 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 this one, one, one. Okay, I'll use another for loop to print these elements, and I use a separate loop for printing the spaces. Okay, that's what my goal is. Now you have to check how many spaces are there. You can see there are only one element in line number one, there is only two element in line number two, just like the previous one, right? So number of elements is directly proportional to the number of line number, right? That is fine. But what about the spaces? You can see the number of spaces is 3 at the starting, 2, 1, 0. So what do you think about this? For line, if I want 4 lines to be printed, you can see the number of spaces are starting with 3. So what do you think? Obviously, if the number of lines the user has given is 4, then 4 minus 1 is 3. That is the number of spaces to begin with. And you should decrement the spaces by 1 after each line. What did I say? You can see the number of spaces is 3 at the beginning, at the top, right? And that number of spaces is actually decremented by 1 in each line or after one line, right? So you can use this logic. Let's see how to solve this problem. Let's write it in the code. So what can I do is, I'll simply write, okay, before that I will initialize, before entering the loop for number of lines, I will simply initialize two variables. One is space. So what is the number of spaces that I should begin with? It is line minus 1. Done. Next, what is the element, or what is the, or how many elements should I print at the beginning? So let's write here lm equal to what? How many elements? It is 1. That is, at line number 1 I should print only one element. At line number 2 I should print two elements. So it will be incremented. I'll increment it afterwards. But at the beginning, the number of elements should be 1. That is, at the beginning, this is 1, right? So only one element is to be printed. Now let's go into the loop. You see, here, this for loop is for printing the number of lines, right? It will generate the lines. That is fine. Now I have to get inside each line. So inside each line, I have to do two things. One is print the spaces, another is print the elements, right? So like I said, I'll use two loops for the two separate tasks. So let's write a for loop for spaces. Okay, and let's write a for loop for the elements. Okay, empty for loops. Now let's fill it up. So what about the first for loop? This is for spaces. And what should I start with? Let's say int j equals to what? J equals to what? So it should be j equals to how many? Let's say 1. Let's start with 1. You have to think how many times should I execute this loop? This loop should be executed space times, because I have to print that many spaces. See, space is 3. If line is 4, if line number is 4, then space is, if number of lines is 4, then space will be 4 minus 1, that is 3. And that many spaces I should print at the line number 1, isn't it? That's why I should run this loop 3 times. So what can I do? I'll simply write j less than equal to space j plus plus. Okay. Now what should I print inside this? What should I do inside this? I will simply print a space, nothing else. As simple as that. Space. Done. The spaces will be printed. How many times? At the beginning when I is 1, so j will run for 3 times. Isn't it? The next time I should decrement the spaces. So where should I decrement? After each line, and that is here. So I'll have to decrement space by 1. Okay, after each line, because you see in the second line we have 2 spaces, that's why. Done. Now what about the loop for the number of elements? You see the elements are same again, 1 1 1 1 1, like that. So how many elements should I print at each line? It is directly proportional to the number of, or it is directly proportional to line number, right? So I can simply use a variable k, which is equal to, which will start from 1, and say how many times should I execute this k loop. It should execute number of times as line number, that is I, and a plus plus. Okay, now what should I print inside this? I should only print 1, nothing else. Okay, and you see this I will be taken care of automatically, because at the next iteration of the I loop I will be incremented by 1. So I will run the k loop 2 times for the second line. When I will be incremented to 3, that is the third line, automatically k loop will be executed 3 times. So I need not take care of I here. I need not do I plus equals to 1. I need not do that. Okay, I will be taken care by the for loop of I. So I need not do that. Okay, now if I execute this code, let's say 5, and see what is happening. So at the beginning, how many spaces are there? 1 2 3 4. Okay, I have given line number as 5, so 4 spaces are printed. Okay, to be, maybe you got confused with the example, so let's give line number 4. See how many spaces are there at the beginning? 1 2 3. That is correct. That is what we wanted, right, from the example. Then followed by a 1. Next line, 1 2, means 2 spaces followed by 1 1. That is also correct. In the next line we have 1 space followed by 1 2 3 ones. Done. In the next line we have 0 number of spaces and 4 ones. That is correct. Now what we need to do, we need to just indent it. So simply delete the printlns. Okay, we do not need it here, but we need the println here. I think you know why. Just println. If I execute the code now with 4, yes, you see It's correct. Obviously, as usual, I'll be running it for maybe 20. That's beautiful. Let's make it more beautiful. Let's say 50. Wow. Great. Great, right. Okay. That's for it. That's for this video. See you in the next video. Bye bye.